Being alone is not a mistake, nor is it something to be feared. It is a divine appointment, a sacred pause orchestrated by God to bring you into a deeper understanding of yourself and your purpose. When the noise of the world fades, when the opinions of others no longer shape your decisions, you are left with the only voice that truly matters, the voice within. This is why solitude is not rejection, but select. It is a deliberate separation so that you may learn, grow, and become who you were always meant to be. Many people spend their lives avoiding solitude, mistaking it for loneliness. They fill their days with distractions, seeking validation from relationships, social interactions, and the constant noise of the outside world. But in doing so, they miss the opportunity to hear the whisper of God, to feel the movement of His power within them. The greatest revelations come in moments of stillness. When the mind is free from the clutter of the external world, it is in these moments that you realize you are not just a product of your circumstances, but the creator of them. God calls you into solitude not to isolate you, but to elevate you. When you are alone, you are no longer influenced by the expectations and limitations imposed by others. You begin to see yourself as you truly are, stripped of the labels that society has placed upon you. In this space of quiet reflection, you come face to face with your own thoughts, your own desires, and your own fears. And in doing so, you gain the power to reshape them. You are no longer reacting to life, you are creating it. Most people resist solitude because it forces them to confront themselves. It forces them to acknowledge the beliefs that have held them back, the fears they have ignored, and the insecurities they have buried under layers of distraction. But this confrontation is necessary. It is in the silence that healing begins. It is in the stillness that clarity emerges. When you stop running from yourself, you discover that you were never lost, only disconnected from the truth that was within you all along. God does not want you to be alone because He has forgotten you. He wants you to be alone so that you may remember who you are. When everything is stripped away, when there is no one left to impress or please, you are left with the purest version of yourself. And it is in this version that you find your true power. This is where faith is built, where strength is restored, and where the foundation of your future is laid. Solitude is not emptiness. It is preparation. If you feel like you have been set apart, it is because you are being refined. God does not place you in isolation without a purpose. He is allowing you to see beyond what is temporary so that you may embrace what is eternal. When you are alone, you are given the opportunity to redefine your vision, to align yourself with a higher purpose, and to cultivate the belief that what you seek is already yours. The world may tell you that solitude is a sign of lack, but in truth, it is a season of abundance. Abundance of wisdom, of clarity, and of divine guidance. The reason many people struggle in solitude is because they are looking for fulfillment in the wrong places. They believe that happiness comes from being surrounded by others, that success is determined by external validation, and that love must be found outside of themselves. But the truth is, everything you desire is already within you. The moment you recognize this, your entire reality shifts. You no longer seek completion from the outside world, because you realize you were never incomplete to begin with. When you embrace solitude, you step into a sacred space where transformation happens. It is a time of renewal, of rediscovery, and of deep spiritual awakening. It is not a season to be rushed or avoided, but one to be cherished and understood. Because it is in this space, when you are stripped of distractions, that you truly come to know yourself. And in knowing yourself, you come to know God. There comes a time in life when people, situations, and even opportunities begin to fade away. What once felt familiar suddenly feels distant. What you once depended on is no longer available. This is not by accident, nor is it a sign that you have been forgotten. It is the hand of God at work, removing distractions so you can grow into the person you were meant to be. When everything around you is stripped away, it forces you to look inward. to rely not on external circumstances, but on the unseen power within you. Many people do not realize that the very things they cling to are the same things holding them back. A relationship that keeps them from stepping into their purpose, a friendship that feeds their insecurities, a routine that keeps them stagnant. These things feel comfortable, but comfort is often the enemy of growth. God knows this, and so He begins to shift things, taking away what no longer serves you. At first, it may feel painful. You may question why certain people walked away or why certain doors closed. But if you look deeper, you will see that every removal is a divine redirection. Growth requires space, and distractions take up space. The mind is like a garden. If it is overcrowded with weeds, the flowers cannot grow. The weeds in your life may come in the form of endless social distractions, negative influences, or even your own doubts and fears. God, in His wisdom, begins to pull these weeds out one by one. It may feel uncomfortable. You may not understand why He is doing it, but in time you will see that He was making room for something greater. Most people resist this process. They try to hold on to what God is removing. They chase after relationships that have run their course. They force situations that are no longer meant for them, and they refuse to let go of habits that keep them bound. But when you refuse to release what God is trying to take away, you delay your own progress. The very things you fight to keep may be the very things preventing your breakthrough. Growth cannot happen when you are too attached to what was meant to end. God does not take things away to punish you. He does it to prepare you. If He has removed certain people from your life, it is because they could not go where He is taking you. If He has closed certain doors, it is because those doors led nowhere. If He has made you feel uncomfortable in your current situation, it is because you were never meant to stay there. Discomfort is often a sign that something greater is coming, but only if you are willing to let go of the past and step into what is next. One of the biggest distractions God removes is the need for validation from others. Many people spend their lives seeking approval, afraid to take a step unless someone else confirms it is the right one. But true growth requires independence. It requires faith in the unseen. This is why God often isolates those He is preparing. When there is no one left to validate you, you are forced to validate yourself. When there is no one left to encourage you, you must learn to encourage yourself. This is where real strength is built. Not in the presence of a crowd, but in the quiet moments when you learn to trust yourself and trust God. The process of removal is never easy. It can feel like you are losing everything, but in reality you are gaining something far more valuable: clarity. When distractions are gone, you begin to see what truly matters. You start to recognize what is essential and what was only ever an illusion. You begin to realize that much of what you once chased was never necessary in the first place. And in this realization, you step into a new level of wisdom, a new level of confidence, and a new level of purpose. Everything that has been taken away was taken for a reason. Every closed door was closed for a purpose. If you find yourself in a season where things are shifting, trust that it is happening for your growth. You are not losing, you are being refined, elevated, and prepared. The distractions that once held you back are no longer in your way, and now you have the space to become everything you were meant to be. Your life is not determined by chance, nor is it controlled by external circumstances. It is shaped by what you assume to be true. Every experience, every encounter, every situation that unfolds in your life is a reflection of the beliefs you hold within. Whether you are aware of it or not, the assumptions you carry in your mind act as the blueprint of your reality. They are the unseen forces shaping your world, influencing how people treat you, how opportunities present themselves, and how events unfold. The world does not impose itself upon you. It merely reflects back to you what you have accepted as truth. Most people believe they are reacting to life, but in reality, life is reacting to them. Every thought repeated with conviction, every feeling held with certainty, takes root in the unseen and shapes the visible. If you assume you are unworthy, life will provide endless evidence to confirm that belief. If you assume that success is out of reach, doors will remain closed. But the same principle applies in the opposite direction. If you assume you are worthy, life will rearrange itself to reflect that. If you assume success is inevitable, the right opportunities will emerge. It is not the world that must change, it is you. The power of assumption is so subtle, yet so absolute that most people overlook it. They do not realize that their doubts, their fears, their expectations, whether positive or negative, are shaping their experiences. They think they are powerless, that life is something happening to them rather than something they are creating. But if they would stop and observe, they would see that their reality is simply mirroring back their inner world. What you persistently expect, what you deeply believe, is what you will see in your life. This is why changing your external circumstances must always begin with changing your internal assumptions. You cannot fight against the conditions of your life without first addressing the root cause, your beliefs. Trying to change the outside while holding the same assumptions inside is like trying to change the reflection in a mirror without altering what stands before it. You must first assume the identity of the person you wish to become. You must walk in the feeling of the reality you desire, even before the physical evidence appears. Many people make the mistake of waiting for proof before they believe. They want to see change before they adjust their assumptions. But this is not how the law works. You do not wait for the world to confirm your desires. You confirm them within yourself first, and then the world follows. The feeling of certainty, of knowing that what you want is already yours, is what brings it into being. The assumption comes first. The manifestation follows. It has never been the other way around. Your assumptions dictate how you interact with the world. If you assume people are against you, you will experience conflict. If you assume you are overlooked, you will remain unnoticed. But if you assume you are valued, others will begin to treat you accordingly. If you assume you are destined for greatness, life will conspire to make it so. You do not have to force change upon the world. You only have to change yourself. The outer world will reflect whatever you hold as true within. For this truth applies in every area of life, whether it is love, success, happiness, or peace. The foundation is always the same. You must first embody the belief before the evidence appears. If you wait for life to give you proof before you believe, you will wait forever. The only proof that matters is the certainty you hold within. Once you establish that, the world has no choice but to align. There is no external force dictating the course of your life. The only force at work is the one within you. Your assumptions are the architects of your experience. Every moment you are shaping your reality, whether consciously or unconsciously. The question is not whether the law is working. The question is what you are allowing it to create. If you wish to change your life, you must first change what you assume to be true. Separation is often misunderstood. People see it as loss, as abandonment, as something to be feared. But in truth, separation is one of the most powerful tools for spiritual awakening. When you are removed from the familiar, when the people, places, and things you once leaned on are stripped away, you are left with something far greater, yourself. It is in these moments of solitude, when the noise of the world is silenced, that the deepest revelations emerge. You begin to see that what you thought you needed was never the source of your strength. The things you once depended on were merely distractions, keeping you from realizing the divine power that has always been within you. Most people resist separation because they associate it with loneliness. They believe that being apart from others means being forgotten, overlooked, or unwanted. But separation is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the process by which the old is removed to make way for the new. When God pulls you away from certain people or situations, it is because they can no longer contribute to your growth. Their presence has served its purpose, and to hold on to them would be to delay the next phase of your journey. Growth requires letting go, even when it is painful. In separation, you are forced to confront yourself. Without the distractions of constant companionship, external validation, or societal expectations, you come face to face with the truth of who you are. This can be uncomfortable, even unsettling, because it reveals the beliefs, fears, and insecurities that have been buried beneath layers of distraction. But this confrontation is necessary. Only by facing yourself honestly can you begin to transform. The illusions that once shaped your reality begin to crumble, and in their place, a new awareness is born. Spiritual awakening does not happen in the midst of comfort. It happens in the wilderness, in the solitude, in the moments when you feel completely alone. It is in these spaces of isolation that you begin to hear the voice of God more clearly. The guidance that was once drowned out by the opinions of others becomes undeniable. The path that once seemed uncertain begins to unfold before you. You realize that the answers you have been seeking were never outside of you. They were always within, waiting for you to be still enough to receive them. Separation is not just about losing people, it is about losing attachments. It is about releasing the dependence on anything outside of yourself to define your worth, your direction, or your happiness. Many people struggle because they tie their identity to relationships, careers, or circumstances. But when those things are taken away, they feel lost. This is why separation is necessary. It breaks the illusion that anything external is the source of your fulfillment. It forces you to turn inward to connect with the power that has been with you all along. There will be moments when separation feels like a test, as if you are being stripped of everything familiar. But this is not to harm you, it is to awaken you. It is in these moments of solitude that your faith is strengthened. You begin to trust not in the seen, but in the unseen. You stop seeking confirmation from the outside world and start trusting the divine wisdom within you. This shift in awareness is what leads to true transformation. You no longer move through life as a seeker. You move as someone who knows. When you embrace separation instead of resisting it, you begin to see it for what it truly is, a gift. It is an invitation to rise, to expand, to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The detachment from the world allows you to reconnect with yourself, and in doing so, you align with the highest version of your being. The person you become in solitude is the person you were always destined to be. The journey of spiritual awakening is not about adding more to your life. It is about shedding what no longer serves you. It is about realizing that everything you need has been within you from the beginning. Separation is not the end of something. It is the beginning of everything. Solitude is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be embraced. Yet, most people resist it because they associate being alone with being forgotten, abandoned, or unworthy. They try to fill every empty space with noise, distractions, and the presence of others, fearing that silence will expose something within them that they do not want to face. But solitude is not a punishment. It is a gift. It is a season designed to shape you, to strengthen you, and to bring you into alignment with the higher version of yourself. When you resist solitude, you resist your own growth. There comes a time in life when God intentionally pulls you away from everything familiar. People who once stood by your side suddenly distance themselves. The things that once excited you no longer hold the same meaning. Doors that you once walked through with ease now remain closed. This is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It is a sign that something greater is happening. You are being separated for elevation. You are being removed from distraction so that you can gain clarity. The very thing you are trying to hold on to is the very thing keeping you from stepping into your next season. Most people struggle in solitude because they try to escape it. They search for company even when it drains them. They force relationships that no longer serve them. They fill their days with meaningless distractions just to avoid the discomfort of being alone. But what they do not realize is that the discomfort is part of the process. It is in the solitude that you begin to hear the voice of God more clearly, that you start to understand who you truly are, and that you finally recognize the things that have been holding you back. Embracing solitude requires trust. Trust that you are not being isolated to suffer, but to evolve. Trust that everything you are experiencing is happening for a reason, even if you do not yet understand it. When you surrender to this season, instead of resisting it, you begin to see its purpose. You realize that solitude is not loneliness, it is refinement. It is in this space that you let go of the need for validation from others. It is in this space that you learn to stand firm in your own identity without relying on external approval. Every great transformation begins in solitude. Before people step into their purpose, they go through a season of separation. The greatest breakthroughs do not happen in the crowd, they happen in the quiet, when there is nothing left but you and your thoughts. This is where strength is built. This is where wisdom is gained. This is where you shift from who you were into who you were meant to be. The resistance you feel is not because solitude is bad. It is because change is uncomfortable. But the moment you embrace it, the struggle ends. In solitude, you learn to appreciate your own company. You start to see that you do not need constant distractions to feel whole. You begin to value peace over chaos, purpose over meaningless connections, and depth over surface-level interactions. You realize that your worth is not determined by how many people surround you, but by how well you know yourself. When you truly embrace this season, you come out of it stronger, wiser, and more grounded in your purpose. The world teaches people to fear solitude, to believe that being alone means being incomplete. But that is a lie. Some of the most profound moments of clarity, healing, and breakthrough happen when you are alone. When you stop fighting against it and start welcoming it, everything changes. You no longer seek validation from others because you have found confidence within yourself. You no longer chase after temporary connections because you have discovered lasting peace within. This season is not meant to break you, it is meant to build you. You are not being left behind, you are being set apart. You are not losing, you are being prepared. The solitude you are experiencing is not a void, it is a sacred space where you are being transformed. When you stop resisting and start embracing it, you will finally see that this is not a season of emptiness, it is a season of becoming. Many spend their lives searching for God outside of themselves, believing that divinity exists somewhere far away, in a distant place, in religious structures or in the words of others. They look for signs, for external validation, for proof that God is near, not realizing that the presence they seek has been within them all along. The search for God is not an outward journey, but an inward revelation. The moment you turn inward, the moment you become still enough to listen, you begin to recognize that God has never been separate from you. People are conditioned to believe that they must earn the presence of God, that they must perform certain rituals, follow strict doctrines, or seek approval from external authorities. They believe that God is something to be reached, as if there is a great distance between the divine and the human. But the truth is, you do not have to strive to find God, because you are already one with Him. The very breath you take, the life force that moves within you, is evidence of divine presence. There has never been separation, only the illusion of it. The world teaches people to look outside for power, for meaning, for answers, but the real source of all wisdom lies within. When you silence the noise of the world and quiet the endless distractions, you will begin to hear a different voice, the voice of the divine speaking within you. It does not shout, it does not force. It simply waits for you to listen. This voice has always been there, guiding you, nudging you, reminding you that everything you seek has been placed within you from the beginning. Many resist this truth because it requires them to take responsibility for their own lives. If God is within, then that means they are not powerless. That means they cannot blame circumstances, people, or fate for where they are. It means they must accept that their life is a direct reflection of their beliefs, their thoughts, and their inner state. This is a difficult truth for many to accept, but it is also the most liberating. The moment you realize that the same divine power that created the universe exists within you, everything changes. To find God within yourself is to awaken to your true nature. It is to understand that you are not merely a physical being bound by limitations, but a divine creation, limitless in potential. The mind that perceives lack, struggle, and separation is the same mind that has the power to create abundance, peace, and unity. The moment you shift your awareness from the external to the internal, from fear to faith, from doubt to certainty, you begin to see the world differently. You no longer feel lost because you understand that you were never truly searching, you were only awakening. People seek external validation because they do not yet trust the power within them. They search for answers from others because they do not yet believe that they are capable of receiving divine wisdom directly. But the truth is, you do not need permission to access God. You do not need a mediator to connect you to the divine. The answers you seek will not come from outside sources, but from the depths of your own being. The wisdom, the guidance, the clarity, it is already there, waiting for you to trust it. When you find God within yourself, fear begins to dissolve. You no longer live in constant anxiety about the future because you understand that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. You no longer look to others for approval because you realize that your worth has never been in question. You walk with a new confidence, a new certainty, because you are no longer searching. You are simply living in alignment with the truth that has always been. The greatest realization you can ever have is that you are not separate from God. The love, the power, the wisdom of the divine is not something outside of you. It is the essence of who you are. The moment you stop looking outward and start looking within, you will see that you were never lost, never abandoned, never disconnected. You will see that God has been within you as you all along.